Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Good Monday morning to you. I hope you are doing well. Ooh, it's almost here. It's almost here. It's almost here. Black Friday. I know. I had a conversation with someone the other day and we were talking about Black Friday. And I know it's lost a little bit of its zeal, compared to um, other years, but it's still Black Friday, and it still needs to go down, and you still need to make sure that you are equipped so that you can have a successful Black Friday in Q4. Hello, good Monday morning. Welcome to Win Your Week. This is Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy. I am your host, Steve Worthy. Super excited to talk to you today. We have 4 days left. 4 days left. How was your weekend? Let me know what you did this weekend, how your weekend was. Want to know what you did, if you were in stores, right? And probably most of you were. Hopefully you were, getting everybody prepared and getting them all excited, maybe kind of tweaking some of those last minute things. We are going to jump right into it today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit later about the campus that we are launching in January, but I wanted to get right into it today because I know that, like I said, we have about 4 days left. So I want to jump right into what we are going to talk about. First and foremost, we always discuss. That's what I'm going to talk about a little bit later. We always want to start with our inspiration for the weekend. Then we get into some tactical things as well too. So, our inspiration for today. This came out of a conversation that I had with my daughter, Kayla, and she was talking about some different things that she was happening at work, some leadership things that was occurring at work, and we were also talking about 2024, right? This is the time that you kind of set your intentions for not just the end of the year, of course, but like for 2024. Like what's going to be your like kind of your intentions? What are the things that you are going to be kind of going after? As a leader from a leadership development standpoint, all those different things. Can't wait to 2024 to get here to kind of think about those things, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But the one thing that I wanted to, and I stressed with her too, was that, actions beat intention all day long, all day long, all day long. This is a Steveism. As you guys know, I have a whole bunch of several different Steveisms, if you will. Action beats intention all day long. We can have the best intentions to do something, whether it's grow our leadership, whether it's to learn how to stand out from a retail leader personal brand standpoint, whether it's understanding how to actually increase our presence when we walk into a room, or we can actually want to go for another career and you want to do something different. We can have the best intentions, but if we don't put any action associated with that intent, then it's just we die on that hill of intentionality. Right. So action beats intention all day long. As you think about where you are within your leadership journey, uh, how many things have you kind of said, I want to do this? How many times have you've made these proclamations around these are the things that you want to do, but you don't do, right? I'm not trying to cast any um, be negative because we've all done it. We've all done it. I've done it. I think I just did it the other day. I had some intentions about working out and I didn't put any action to it, right? So it happens. But I think when we start to take notice when those things happen, we actually have to start to put some more action into in motion so that that intention actually ends up becoming something that we really want to do, that we're actually going to be doing. So action beats intention all day long. And at this time of year this has been this saying, if you will, is extremely true this time of year, where we can have the best intentions on what we want our stores and we want our markets to look like and how we want to execute. We can have all these intentions, but if we don't put anything into action, if we don't help our teams, our leaders execute, if we don't provide proper environment for them to act upon certain things, then guess what? It's just not going to happen. So action beats intention all day long. Let me know your thoughts about that quote, if you will, in the comments. Just interested to get your thoughts on that one as well too. All right, so what are we talking about today? We are talking about, of course, we have. Let me move this down here. Where is this at? Oh my gosh, there we go. We have. No, that's the wrong one. We have about 4 days until Black Friday. 4 days until Black Friday. So I always want to do a couple of foundational thoughts here too. Once again, this hasn't changed. This hasn't changed from last week. I think I added something kind of going forward, but this is not the time to be for complexity. Not the time for complexity. It's just it is not. You have 4 days to execute. You have 4 days before everything, the rubber meets the road, if you will. All of those puns, if you will, around getting stuff done, right? But the other piece that is that it's about movement, and it's about movement of talent, and it's about movement of product, right? I wanted to reiterate this point because I think I know some people they haven't watched the last couple of weeks of Win Your Week, and so for me these elements of Q4 are extremely important. It's about the movement of talent, and it's about the movement of product. When we start to think about the talent piece, it is strategically placing people where the need is, but also to make sure if you haven't done this or not, that the person that you're moving to a certain area, that their needs, that their skills and behaviors actually align with what needs to take place there. We can't just throw a warm body into a situation and expect them to execute. If we haven't done the requisite training and development or onboarding, with our talents to really kind of understand who they are, then guess what? We are setting them up for. We're not setting them up for success. We're setting them up for failure. So we don't want to do that. Well, so the talent piece has to be very strategic. We have to make sure that we actually putting people in the right place so that they can be successful. The product piece is, of course, understanding what's selling and what's not. How do you make moves? How do you actually put products where they're supposed to be? Where is the product, right, in your stores? If you're a senior retail leader and you have multiple stores, you have multiple markets. How easy is it for you to move some of that product, right? Store to store transfers, all these different things, right? And I know those are old school kind of mentalities, right? But there are certain situations, certain one-offs, opportunities where a customer can actually want a certain product. So how are you actually leading and managing through that process as well, right? Ideally, you have been your system as it relates to your on hands, as it relates to your assortment. It's garbage in, garbage out. How have you been able to maximize your inventory system kind of throughout the year to make sure that you're feeding it the right the right information? How have you been looking at your actually on hand counts for certain things kind of throughout the course of the year? How have you managed your in stocks routines, your processes, all of those different things? I know AI has actually can come in and provided a lot more information to a lot of more stores, but there is still the it's not even the old school, but there's still the best practices of making sure that your in stocks routines and processes are solid. It was one of the things I always looked at every time I went into a store was making sure that their in stocks process and routines were solid. Their on hand counts were solid. Locations were solid. All these different things. These are just the finer things that you actually kind of go throughout the course of the year, because what happens in Q4, you get more people, you get more product, you get more customers. You get more and more and more. And if you are bringing in more on a foundation that isn't solid, guess what happens? It crumbles. It crumbles. So this is the time of year where a lot of a lot of things that you have or haven't done throughout the course of the year, they start to show themselves. They start to show themselves. So it's about movement, and it's about movement of talent, and it's about movement of product. All right. So let's go into the know one thing. Let me know if you have any questions or any thoughts as well as I continue to move forward as well. And good morning to everyone who is watching on YouTube, Facebook, and of course over here on LinkedIn as well. Good morning to all of you. Let me make sure I don't have any comments up here, because sometimes the comments don't want act like they don't want to show properly. All right, good deal. So here, this is for both of you. This is, the last couple of weeks I have been doing, I've been breaking down things for store managers and for multi-unit leaders. But this one for know one thing, I wanted to give this to both of you, because I think it's important that you understand this. This is probably another Steveism, and I know it's probably, you may have heard this one before too, but I always say it's a Steveism, because if I haven't heard anybody else say it, then I'm gonna claim it. I'm gonna claim it. So how you finish something is how you begin the next thing. Whether it's how you leave a job and you start a new one, or how you leave one role and you start a new one, right? How you potentially kind of leave one relationship, maybe it's to the next one, right? There are different learnings that take place, right, in between that finishing of something, right, to the actual beginning of something else. Please understand that. Please get that point. If you don't get anything else today, there has to be, and there must be, and there is, whether you want to understand and realize it or not, there are learnings that take place as you start to be in the tail end of something in your professional career. And then in that crucible moment, or that interim moment between when you start something else, there are lessons learned. There are things that you need to take in. There are things that you need to write down. There are things that you need to address. There are things that you need to identify before you start the new thing. Because if you don't, you walk into the new thing with a lot of the old things unresolved. So as we close Q4, as we go into Q4, and we start to go into Q1, into next year, you have to start to identify those things right now in Q4 so that way, and you can identify them. You may not be able to fix them all, during Q4, but at least you actually are able to walk into Q1 having identified things with a list. Hey, I need to develop better leadership skills. Hey, I need to, I need a coach. Hey, or my team actually needs to understand, how to actually communicate with their team better. All these different things, right? How am I visiting stores? How am I going to visit stores differently during Q1, Q2, and Q3 compared to, so that way at Q4 my job becomes a lot easier. All these different things. There are so many different nuances that actually happen. So how you finish something is how you begin the next thing. So making sure that you are identifying and writing down those moments of revelation, as I call them, where you are writing down, oh my gosh, okay, I just went through this, or my team just identified this certain problem, or oh my gosh, this is something to think about for next year, right? All these different things. If you are not doing that, you are not setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up for failure for Q1 because if you don't address those things, they're just going to repeat themselves. And I don't want you to do that. I really don't. I want you to learn from all your mistakes and the mistakes of other people, so that way when you move into Q1, right? We're going to be talking more about this, setting your intention over the next couple of weeks, and then also into Q1, because setting your intentions around what it is that you want to do, who it is that you want to become, what are the areas that you want to actually improve upon, starts. That's the initial process, is to set the intention. But then, as I said earlier, there has to be action associated with that. Okay, so how you finish something is how you begin the next thing. All right. Let me know if that's making sense to you. Give me a thumbs up or give me a heart emoji or something like that. Let me know if that makes sense, if that helps you out or not. Because I think the one thing that we feel that we can't do certain things in Q4. We feel that it is go season, but it is also a season that we actually have to make sure that we are learning and growing, and making sure that we're trying to help people understand a little bit more about who they are and also who we are as well too. All right, so I do have. I'm going to separate them out again too. I think I have one ask one thing for the store managers and one ask thing for the multi-unit leaders. So store managers, I hope you did this one. Did you mitigate your biggest point or points of failure? Did you mitigate it yet? Did you identify, right? So the last two weeks, right? I gave you this one. Don't say I didn't help you out. Don't say I didn't help you out. I gave you this one. Said to identify your biggest areas of opportunity and also your biggest points of failure. Did you do that? Do you know where those points of failure are within your process, within your routine? If you haven't done that work, you need to continue to ask that question. It may be a question that you want to continue to ask as you move through Q4, right? And here's the thing. I as I stated earlier, I want all of you to be successful. I want all of you to have an amazing Q4, amazing Q4. But those of us who have been in retail, we have to be very realistic. We know that there are going to be certain times and certain situations where things just happen, and if we haven't done the upfront work to help our stores identify that, as a regional or senior vice president, I always had a market that I knew was sort of my biggest points of opportunity, and so I would spend time in that market prior to Q4 to hopefully mitigate any of those points of failure that they would have, whether it could be staffing, It could be openings. It could be talent and communication. It could be training and development. It could be onboarding process. It could be a myriad of things. But hopefully you have done this. You have actually been able to identify and mitigate your biggest points of failure as you continue to move through Q4 and into Black Friday. Okay, multi-unit leaders, ask one question. Where and how will I be spending my time? And I don't know if this one is. Maybe this last one is more of a do. I think I was in a moment of just getting stuff done, and I wrote this one down. So I guess it actually works. Where and how will I be spending my time? Where and how? It has to be. You have to be strategic in how you're spending your time and where you're spending your time. The other part of this is that you have to the visits, I believe, doing Q4 have to be short and effective. I don't I don't think I don't think they need to be long. Can I just say this too? I'm just gonna say this. I'm taking a sip of my coffee. I'm gonna help you with this. And I know some of you are like, no, Steve, I don't agree with this one. During Black Friday, especially during Black Friday, the weekend of Black Friday, it doesn't matter how great of a leader you are, how beloved you are, and there is an underpinning that your stores don't want to see you. Can I help you with that? I really just want to help you. If you didn't know, now you know, right? And it's not that they don't like you, that they don't appreciate you, that they don't appreciate your leadership. It is just that it is go time. It is go time. I don't have time to walk the entire store with you if I'm a store manager. Even as a market, if I'm a district manager, right? And I would come to visit, my stores, with them. We were quick. We were quick with our visits, right? A lot of the a lot of the change happens. I'm just gonna give you another tip. A lot of change happens in between the store visits. Okay, this is a something that your boss won't tell you this. A lot of the discussions and a lot of the change happens from one store to the next. And what I mean is that after I've gone into a store, I've already done my assessment and things along that line. There are certain, especially during Q4, right? What I am doing in the car ride with my DMs as we move to the next store, we are identifying certain things that we want to make sure that we're communicating, that we may see as a pattern in certain stores. And then in between those certain stores, right? If you're on WhatsApp or you have a text group or something like that, that's where you kind of communicate. Hey team, I'm seeing da 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 da. Hey, can we make sure we address this, right? They're short and they're effective, but then you are actually providing a lot more instruction. Maybe not in that particular moment because the store managers are running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And how are you and you slowing them down really prevents them from doing certain things. So that's where I say, where are you spending your time? And are they going to be short and are they going to be effective? And can I just add this other thing? If you need to jump in, and they hate this though. They hate it though. I know they do. But if you need to jump in, because you don't have a code for the register, I'm just talking about if you just see something, if you could jump in for a moment and kind of help them. I have gone into stores. I've literally gone into stores during Black Friday, and I know they needed help with pulling orders in the back. And I would walk into the store and I would go right to the back and I would get a PDA and I would actually start pulling orders and different. I would have somebody sign me in and I start pulling orders. I know you're probably like, that's such an inefficient use of your time. What are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that. You're getting paid too much money for that. Listen to me. Doing something like that, I'm telling you right now, it just it for me, I love doing it. It just sets something. It just sets something completely a different tone in the relationship that I had. But more importantly, when because here's the way what happens. Word gets around. Steve's in the building and Steve's pulling orders, right? And then because my DM would come in, he would get word, and then the store manager would get word, and then they're all coming back, and they're like, "Dude, what are you doing?" It's like I'm pulling orders, man. I'm pulling orders. I got you. Listen to me. Store looks great. I did a quick lap. Your store looks great. Let me help you out for a little bit. I can see based on the PDA you guys are behind. Let me pull some of the simple ones. I'm not going to pull these complex ones. So do something like that if you possibly can. I'm not saying you have to do that at every store. I'm not saying you have to do that at every store, but do something like that, right? Your team, as much as they don't want to see you, if you're able to actually add some value to them, right? It's a completely different perspective, right? You don't have to do that at every store. And Chris says, so good morning. It's been a long time. But I'm here. I appreciate you, Chris. I jump in. Exactly. Coach later, hindsight. Yeah, man. Yeah. Because it's go time. It's go time. It is go time for them. And they are really trying to figure this thing out. They are really trying to go and get after it. So before we move into the last one, which is do one thing, I do want to make sure to remind everybody about our newsletter, Worthy Retail. It is growing. The content has been extremely well received, right? It just allows us to continue the conversation from here and from our podcast. And it provides a lot of those unspoken challenges. We address those unspoken challenges that no one wants to talk about, as a retail leader. You know exactly the things that you go through. I've seen it. I've been there. I'm hearing it from our clients, and we address a lot of those things that you are struggling with in silence, right? You are struggling with communication. You're struggling with presence. You're struggling with personal branding. You are struggling with understanding maybe your value and what the value that you have and what you bring to, whether it's your job, and the industry or your company. And we want to make sure that we address all of those things. So make sure you go and connect with us at Worthy Retail News. And then one of the big things that we have going on is, of course, our road to 100 first. 100 learners, if you will, for the campus, and the campus is extremely exciting. So if you go to worthyretailcampus.com, you will go to this. Get to this page, and this page explains everything about the campus. It talks about our annual. It gives you the annual fee, and then also the monthly ones. This is the 197 is for our first 100 members or learners, if you will, and it is chock full of resources. The one thing I wanted to emphasize, because you can go to this page and I want you to look at this yourself. But here's the one area that I wanted to really emphasize, and it's actually in red. It says leaders need a judgment-free space. Leaders need a judgment-free space. Leaders are seeing retail leaders. There is a sense of loneliness that is out there in the marketplace, and there is a sense that, Steve, I don't have anybody to talk to. I am going through this leadership journey by myself. I can't talk to my boss because my boss is going to hold me in judgment. I can't talk to my peer because my peer is struggling with the same thing I am, and they don't have any solutions, right? So you need a space where there is free of judgment. You need a space where you can actually come and, for all intents and purposes, let your hair down. But here's the thing. Can I just stress this to you as well? I don't want you to stay there. A lot of communities, I don't want to talk about the negatives. It is about solutions, and it is about getting you moving forward. That is where the growth happens. It is not so much in identifying a problem. It is actually in providing and creating solutions for those problems. So you can go and check us out at Worthy Retail, the campus. Worthy Retail Campus, and connect with us over there. So looking forward. We've already had a ton of people sign up, so I'm looking forward to all of you, getting on board and coming there. It is going to be an amazing opportunity and experience for you to get resources that you're going to need, that you're not getting with your company, that you're not getting right now within the retail industry. We are setting a completely different tone for how do you do retail leadership. All right, so let's go to this last piece. Let's go to the last portion. And so here we go. So do one thing. Do one thing. Empathetic communication. Here's the thing. I know last week I said don't take it personal, right? And so I know it sounds like, well, Steve, you're talking on both sides of your neck. You're talking on both sides of your neck. Last week you told me not to take anything personal. Now you're telling me to have empathetic communication. You can do both. You can do both. You can be very structured in what you need to say, but there can also be a measure of empathy in how you actually communicate during this time of year, right? And some of the questions I helped you out with this, that you can ask your team. These are just some questions that you can ask your team. They're open-ended. How is everyone doing? What's working? What's not working? What can I do to help? Simple, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. These are the questions that you can ask your team. Whether you are store manager or whether you are you're a multi-unit leader, these are the questions that you can ask. These provide, but then you got to listen. When you actually ask these questions, you actually have to listen to the response, and you don't wait for them to. Don't wait with your response and just waiting for them to finish, right? Ask the question and then listen. And if you can help. If you can't, hey, I appreciate everything you're saying. I appreciate everything you're saying. This time of year, it's actually going to be tough for us to get that accomplished, right? I completely hear everything you're saying. So what solution would you like for me to try to provide during this time of year? What can we do differently, right? So asking these questions with your team, and not flippantly asking them, pausing if you possibly can, or while you're walking the store. Hey, what's working? What's not? What do you see? What do you see that I don't see? That was one of my favorite questions. That was one of my favorite questions to ask on the visit. What do you see that I don't see? Right? And and some people are, oh, you're telling on yourself, but that's exactly what you want to do. But for me, it also let me know how invested that leader was with it, whether it was their department or whether it was their store or their market. Like, especially if I'm driving with district managers, and once again we're going from one store to the next. One of my favorite questions is like, what did you see that I didn't see? And I didn't see anything. Here's the thing: I already had like a list of 3 things that I know I saw that you didn't, that we didn't talk about, or that wasn't communicated. I just want to know if you're actually going to be able to, articulate some of those things to me. So just go ahead and say it. Just go ahead and tell me, right? What can I do to help? This also kind of relates to that idea and concept of kind of like jumping in, and I need more bags. I need this, or whatever. As you are traveling through stores, right? That was one of my favorite things to do as well. Some stores were super proactive with buying bags, right? With having bags for those of us who in retail who still provide bags, right? I remember those days, right? Some stores were, they throughout the year, they were just buying bags. They were just buying bags throughout the year. Super smart. And they would just like put them in like different areas because they knew in Q4 they were going to need more bags. So my thing was like, I was like, yo, I'm like, Christopher, I know you got tons of bags. Give me some. I'm going over to store, 412, and they need bags, right? So what can I do to help? Making sure that you're actually providing some solutions and helping people out as well too. Then you coach later. Then you coach them later. Like, dude, how come you didn't have any bags? right? You don't do it in a moment. You provide a solution, then you coach those guys later. All right. For store managers, we talked about this one last week, and it is extremely important. I'm almost done, which is awesome. Food, right? What type of food, are you having? Please tell me you've already ordered the food. Please tell me you've already executed on this, throughout the weekend, right? I hope you have. Food is extremely important, and it's not so that your team just doesn't want to leave, right? Because if they're on a break, they can leave. They can do whatever they want to do, right? If they don't like the food that you order, then they may be a vegan or something like that. They may want to just go somewhere else. They may not just want to partake. That's okay. That's okay. But the vast majority do. And so you have to make sure that you are providing, that food, entertainment, and some fun, for your team, as well. Make it entertaining, have fun, you know. Just do something different, do something out of character, as a leader, right? Because if you're like one of those buttoned up like leaders who's very kind of like, we're gonna stay in these lines. This is the time of year for you to kind of cut loose a little bit and show your team a different side of you. Okay. And then the last one for multi-unit leaders, it's very similar. Celebrate the wins. Celebrate the wins. Celebrate celebrate the wins very quickly. I mean, do it. Uh, do it on your group app. Hey, I just went to the store, 412, and they're crushing sales, right? They just beat last year by 25%. There's great stuff, great stuff, right? Or you know, hey, we just had the senior vice president of operations, or executive vice president of operations kind of fly into our market unexpectedly. They flew in, they hit two stores, and I just got a message that the stores were amazing. Great job, 412. Great job, 413. Awesome, right? Celebrate those things, making sure that everybody knows that that they're winning and that their peers are winning this time of year, right? It is going to be tough. It's not going to be a season like we've had previously. There are going to be a lot of people who aren't going to be spending as much as they were, but they're going to be spending money on the right thing, and they're going to be spending money on things that you have. And so that's why when I talk about movement of a product earlier, that's why that piece is so important. Is that if you have the right movement of product and right understanding of what that product is and what your customers needs, then guess what? You can actually provide that. Then everybody wins. Everybody wins. So as a senior, as a multi-unit leader, make sure that you are celebrating the wins. And then my final thoughts. Take a partner quickly. Be a partner effectively. Live in Q4, but keep an eye on Q1. And then the last one again, once again, it's about movement and talent. Um, Take a partner quickly. You know, it has to be your communication and your identification of an issue has to be very quick, has to be very acute, and your communication needs to be similar in how you're actually communicating that. And then to be a partner, you have to be a partner effectively, trying your best to provide a solution for that individual store, for that individual market, or whatever it may be. Live in Q4, we talked about this, but you got to keep an eye on Q1. What are some of those things that you have not been able to do effectively in Q4 that when you move to Q1, you need to address? You need to address. There are going to be those things that you need to address individually as a leader, and then there are going to be those things that need to address collectively as your team. And you want to make sure that you are identifying those things and writing them down and having a plan, right? Setting your intentions, but then also coupling that with action as well. And then of course the last one is about movement and talent. Um, have fun. Have fun. Um, this is my favorite time of year. I think I've said that before. This was always my favorite time of year. Um, Going to corporate was cool. Those were great opportunities. But then I realized that when I went into a store, that that cashier didn't get an opportunity to you know um, you know see the live concert. see Beyonce or whoever was at the corporate meeting this year. They didn't get a chance to see them. So it's important that we understand that, while at a certain level you're privileged to be a part and be able to see the vision for a company and to be able to cast vision. It's important that when you go into stores, that cashier, then they're not having the same experience that you are. They're not living the same lifestyle that you are. They don't have the same issues that you have. So have fun, but making sure that you go into the stores and that you are recognizing, the team from the bottom to the top. From the bottom to the top. Connect, connect, connect. Celebrate, recognize, let them know that they're valued. And then here's the last thing. Let them know that they're seen. Let them know that they are seen. The worst thing that you can do as a store manager or district manager, regional, senior vice president, executive vice president, when you come in stores and you don't acknowledge people, you don't acknowledge their hard work. Here's a pro tip. I don't even want to call it pro tip. As a store manager or even as a district manager, even as a regional, and your boss is coming into town, your boss is coming in for a visit, always have one or two people that you want to introduce them to, especially this time of year, and have something very specific that they've done, whether it's with a customer experience issue or circumstances, or it is their productivity level. It could be a team. It could be your in-stocks team. But making sure, I always wanted to have some people to recognize when my boss came into town. Hey, we're going to be going to store 412. I keep using 412. We're going to go to store 412 and we're going to be seeing Christopher. Christopher has been crushing it with X, Y, and Z. So guess what? My boss comes in. Christopher, dude, I've heard you've been crushing it. Like, great job. Da, da, da. Christopher just like, oh, man. Now Christopher's like, or come in and celebrate with the team. So making sure that your team has been seen is one of the most important parts that you want to make sure that you're doing as you move into Q4 and go through Q4. Okay, let me make sure I did everything. All right. As well, here's one last thing. I keep giving you the last thing. I'm doing something different with my podcast. So I'm doing sort of a reverse podcast. I've already had several people sign up for it. This is sort of where you get to ask me 3 questions, and then I get to ask you one. And this is all around 2 things. It is around your leadership development and growth, but it is also introducing retail leaders to the coaching experience. Because one of the things that I have seen and I've realized is that a lot of retail leaders don't really understand or see what a coaching experience can do for them. And so the idea with this one is for you to ask me 3 questions around your leadership growth, and I provide you some answers, and then I ask you 1 question. And the 1 question is it's a pretty dope question. It's a pretty dope question. I'm just gonna let you know that right now. And I ask the same question to everybody that's actually that's on this podcast that does this. So would love to you can connect with me, of course. If you're on LinkedIn, you can DM me. If you want to do this, if you're on Facebook, you can DM me as well. If you're on YouTube, leave me a comment, and then I will connect with you as well. But I would love to have as many retail leaders as possible, because we are going to be rolling out some of this stuff. Some of these results, in our community. But we're also going to be doing this as we kind of go throughout the course of the year as well too. So love to have you to be part of this. Part of the podcast as well. Something new that we're going to be starting to do now until we move into 2024. So have a great day. Let me move sure. Let me get up here too. So have a great day. Have a great Black Friday. Go change the world. Go crush it where you are. Have a great day. God bless.